What does it feel like to become someone new? On this channel, I've talked a lot about manifestation and about pursuing desires, but I don't think we ever talked about what the process feels like. And so I think tonight we are going to dissect that question, and I can tell you from my perspective what this whole experience feels like and has felt like in the past. So, to me, the process of manifestation or reality creation starts with a new desire, and that's usually the catalyst for me that starts the process. Like me realizing that I have something, a goal that I want to pursue, or something that I want to have, or there's somebody that I like a person, right? A desire can also be a person. That's usually the catalyst that starts the manifestation process for me. And it always starts with a desire. It's never like a logical decision that like, oh, I should pursue this, or like, oh, I should, it would be wise for me to do that, right? It never starts like that. It always starts with a true desire. And by true desire, I mean something that I know that I want because of me, right? Like my desire is not influenced by anybody else. Matter of fact, like people don't know what my desires are until after I get them. I never talk about my desires as they're unfolding or as I'm in the process of getting them. And I think that's been like a really, really smart decision on my end, because other people's opinions are always gonna like mess things up for you. So the process for me has always started with a true desire, which is something that I want, like in a vacuum, even if nobody knows about it, even if like nobody knew that I got it, even if like it took 10 years for me to get this thing, I would still go after it. And that's how I know that this is a true desire that comes from my heart and is not influenced by society. So the process starts with a desire, and that kind of starts the manifestation process. Once I have this desire, the second step I think is always to decide to pursue this desire and to try to understand like what it would mean if you got it. Like how would you know that your desire has manifested, right? Like that can sound silly, but like it's really not, because if your desire, let's say, is to be happily married, like what does happily married even mean, right? That can mean 25,000 things to 25,000 different people. Or like if your desire is to be filthy rich, what does that mean? Like what has to happen for you to have your desire? And get very clear about what it is you want exactly and how you would know that you got it. So that's step 2 for me. And then step 3 is finding ways to finding ways to embody the feeling that I would have if I got my desire. Like if you got this thing tomorrow, like what would it feel like to you? And there are like a few ways to do this, and I do this every single day of my life. And those things for me are meditation. I do like a Joe Dispenza meditation every day religiously. Another thing is morning pages. That helps me put into words what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and it has been super helpful. The meditations are also a way of um, harnessing the feeling of my desire. And my meditations have changed lately because at the beginning I had to have a vivid picture of me having my desire in order to bring up the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Lately I've been able to pick up the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even though there is no picture. Like, I'm not actively visualizing things anymore in my meditations. I just see blackness, and I'm still able to feel what it would feel like if I got my desire. So that's been an interesting development in my world. But other than that, I also do affirmations every day. And I do, I try to do things every day to keep me and to get me into the state of the wish fulfilled. That's the point of doing all of these techniques. It's not to get anything, it's to be able to bring that feeling within you at any point during the day and to live from that feeling exclusively. That is the goal of these techniques. It's not to get anything out of thin air. It's to feel the feeling. So step one is having a desire, knowing exactly what it is and how you would know that you got it. Step two is feeling the feeling of the wish fulfilled, or being able to bring up the feeling of the wish fulfilled within you, whether that's through visualizations or visualizing. I've done this before also, visualizing my desire right before I fall asleep, meditating, affirming. I do these things every day, and I use them to bring up the feeling of my desire, of what it would be like to have my desire. And from there, that process of pursuing your desire by pursuing the feeling will eventually start to change your identity. It will start to change how you see yourself, what you think is possible for you. You'll start to see yourself as the kind of person that can have this desire. You'll start to have new thoughts. You'll start to think of your desire in different ways, or even things that may seem unrelated to your desire might start to change. Your opinion on, I don't know, nutrition might you're gonna start developing this new identity, and that identity comes from new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling, and new ways of behaving, right? That's why I think Dr. Joe Dispenza's course is called Believing, Behaving, and Becoming Abundance, because that's the sequence. You believe it, you behave different, you behave differently, and then you become it. You embody the desire. And so through this new identity, you will start to notice a lot of new thoughts and a lot of new ways of feeling. That's usually the first step, or of how you know that this is working, that the process is working for you, is that the first stages of manifestations are internal, in the sense that all of the changes that you're seeing, or that I was seeing, right, were mental and emotional. The way that I thought about myself was changing, the way that I thought about the world was my thoughts were changing, and I thought differently about many different things. And that kind of started happening as I was pursuing this desire and as I was living from the feeling of the wish fulfilled as much as I could during the day. And once that chain reaction starts to happen, then you'll naturally get to a point where the way that you behave will change. Like the actions that you take are going to change because your thoughts have changed and because your emotions have changed. That's going to spill over into the way that you behave and the decisions that you make throughout your day. And then the next step is developing a new personality, which makes sense because if you have a new identity and you like behave differently, you think differently, you feel differently, you act differently, that's going to change your personality. And that new personality is going to bring you a new experienced reality. And that experienced reality is basically like you getting your desire. But in order to get that desire, you have to go through this loop, right? Of like having a desire, then living from the wish fulfilled exclusively, then like a new identity is formed, new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling, new ways of behaving, a new personality, new personal reality. And then that closes the loop. And a lot of times it feels like nothing's happening. There are many times where like I'm in the middle of manifesting something big and I feel like nothing's happening. But like realistically, you don't really know what's happening because you're only seeing 0.001% of reality. So you really don't know if it's working or not, but you feel like it's not. And one way that I can tell that it is working, even though my external reality hasn't changed yet, is just because everything else in that chain is changing. Like I am able to stay in the wish fulfilled for most of the day. I do have a new identity. I do have new ways of thinking. I do feel differently. My emotional baseline has changed drastically. The way that I behave is starting to change. That's going to lead to like a new personality, a new personal reality, and so on, and that's going to close the loop. So I think it's important to know where you are in the cycle and don't judge the end result by looking at the world and asking yourself, well, do I have the thing, yes or no? Or do I have the person, yes or no? Right? Like there are many ways to determine if this your manifestation is working, and that's going to determine where you are on the loop. And so what does it feel like to become somebody new? It feels like a complete death and rebirth of who you used to be as a person. And I've talked about this before, but when you choose a desire to pursue, you choose the end of the movie. Like you know how the movie's going to end, but you don't know what that movie's going to be like. And so like 99% of manifestation is you making a decision to pursue a desire, and then like as you're sitting in the state of the wish fulfilled, you're just like watching life unfold around you, and you're watching all of these changes happening, and you're as surprised by these changes as anybody else because like you're also changing. as this process unfolds. And so it's 99% of manifestation is like you finding out the story as it's happening. And so I think that Dr. Joe Dispenza was definitely right when he said that you literally have to become somebody new in order to get your desires. That's been true for me. And this process is not for the faint of heart, because there is so much unknown and there is so much that's going to have to change within you. And you have to be the kind of person that like is willing to go through these changes and go through this process and become somebody new, become the person that can have their desires. And I think that it's a beautiful journey, and it's definitely worthwhile as long as you pick the right desires for you, right? Like as long as you picked a desire that you really truly deeply care about, because otherwise you're not going to be able to put up with all of these changes, the new identity, the new behaviors, the new way of thinking, the new way of feeling, the new way of behaving. Like all of that is going to turn things upside down and inside out in your life as you're transforming and as you're becoming a new person. And so the desire has to be strong to keep you on course. Otherwise, you're going to give up and you're going to have to start from scratch with a new desire. And so it is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful process, but it can be intense at times, and that's okay. Like, because at the end of the day, you know what you're doing it for or who you're doing it for. And so that makes it worth all of the changes in your personality and in your personal reality. If this video was interesting to you, then I think you would love my book that I just published. It's called Mastering the Middle. And in this book, I talk about the middle, which is the space between setting your desire and getting your desire. Like the loop that I just described from setting a desire to like experiencing a new personal reality. That middle, that gap between those two things, I call the middle. And in this book, I talk about the things that are happening internally and the things that you should be aware of as you're going through this journey. And I think that this book is a great guide for people that are struggling with this process a little bit. And I think that it can bring you back on track to your to the version of yourself that can have your desires. And so if that sounds interesting to you, then I will leave the link for the book in the description box below. And thank you so much for watching this video.